and I already spoke on Kundalini yesterday for 2 hours. Those who want to hear my speech can arrange it with Mr. Sai and can come sometime and listen to it. But today, after telling you about the 3 powers which govern our autonomous nervous system, and the 7 centers which look after all our autonomous behavior, which are the milestones of our evolutionary different stages. The centers carry the symbols of deities who are responsible for our evolution, who have helped us to evolve by leading us, by giving us a leadership. The whole action has been Sahaj. As I have told you yesterday, Sahaja. Saha means with, Ja means bond. Bond with. In a seed, the complete map of the tree and all the trees that are coming in future is microscopically placed. In the same way, in our being, the complete map was placed. We have crossed quite a long distance to be human beings from the state of amoeba, or even earlier. Today I am going to tell you about what lies around the normal human consciousness. We have to understand man in his complete totality. It is very necessary to know all that is unknown, because whatever that is unknown is not divine. We should not mistake everything that is unknown as a divine force. And to understand the complete totality of man, you have to open your mind, listen to me like a scientist would listen or understand a hypothesis, and later on, if you are realized, if you are, that is a very big if. With some people it is not. You all can testify. You can find out. But as a scientist, you must have an open mind. If you are a fanatic, even if you are science obsessed person, you cannot understand. Science does not know anything of love. It does not know anything of religion. It does not know anything of incarnations. But it can be proved today that there exists a force which is the synthesis of all the forces that are working. And there exists the all-pervading power of divine love. But for that, you have to be a subtler personality. With this gross human attention, you cannot realize it. You have to be a subtler being. And to be that subtle being, you are already blessed with a mechanism that works out this happening spontaneously. It is sahaja, spontaneous, effortless. Somebody has to trigger it. Yesterday I have told quite elaborately all the chakras and their names and their deities and all the three forces. But today I am going to tell you what lies beyond these lines, beyond the human awareness. Is a subject of psychology. You can say, though psychology is such a child science and the knowledge is so limited because you are probing from outside. It's an objective knowledge in the sense that you come from outside and see things. You grow up at something, you say this is this. When you grow up at another thing, you say this is this. You have heard the story of 6 blind men trying to understand an elephant. As I told you yesterday, that there can be a method by which you can put the light on and one can see clearly the complete, the total picture of man. In this picture, I have not been able to show that part. But in the human mind, as you all know, there are different stratas of consciousness. Now you are listening to me, paying attention to me. Your chitta is towards me. This attention is the conscious mind. You know that. You are conscious of what I am speaking. Moment to moment you are listening to me. This present moment now, at this moment as it is. It's slipping. Is becoming the past and the future is coming in view. Every moment is disappearing and a new moment is coming. You cannot stop the present. You cannot stop your attention at present. Now, to be at this moment, you cannot be. That's the difficulty. You either think of the past or of the future, but you cannot think of the present of this moment. So, we have our past and our future. In a simple word. The past, they call it as subconscious mind. Subconscious mind, they call it as psyche. Sometimes I don't know what do they mean by psyche. They are so confused. But we have a subconscious strata in which we store all that we collect, experiences, conditionings, everything. This work is done by the left-hand side channel known as Ida Nadi, which is worked by the power of Mahakali. Now this word should not shock all the English-knowing scientists. This Mahakali power works. The storing of all the experiences, all the thoughts that are coming to you from the present into the past is done by Mahakali power. Thinking of the future, planning of the future, organizing the future is done by the right-hand side power of Mahasaraswati, which acts through the Pingala channel. In the gross form, they are expressed left and right sympathetic nervous systems. But for a doctor, both the systems act simultaneously. They are so interconnected that it is very difficult for them to verify two different functions which are allotted to them, because the ways and methods are so gross. The left side attends to our emotional being, the lower left side to our physical, we can say psychosomatic side, the right side, the lower, to our physical being, and the upper right side to our thinking. The center channel of Sushumna is a completely independent system which works out our sustenance. In the beginning, when a person wants to drink, he vomits. All the parasympathetic activities are performed through the subtle action of this channel known as Sushumna, and the power that acts is known as Mahalakshmi. This power evolves us. It gives us dharma, is a sustainer. The complete periodic table, if you have studied chemistry, is amazingly organized. The carbon is placed as a tetravalent element with 4 hands, just like a Ganesha. I do not want to go into the details of the periodic table, but it is so well organized that every atom of every element has to have the last circle with 8 protons. If they are less or if they are more than 4, they either become the negative or the positive elements. What a tremendous planning it is. And when we say there is no God, we must understand such a tremendous planning could not have been achieved by just chance. It doesn't work out by that law of chance. All right, forget about God, because suddenly if you talk of God, the scientists get a shock. But He exists. And these are His 3 powers which perform these 3 actions in our being. By the first, we build up our past. By the second, we build up our future. And by the center, the Sushumna Nadi, we exist in the conscious mind. The problem of future and past is created for human beings by a special method. As I told you yesterday, that this brain assumes a shape of a prism, and that when these powers enter into the brain on both the sides, they lose part of it. The one that enters from the right hand side passes to the left hand, losing something on the left hand side. This one is the Mahakali power, which loses outside. This one is the reaction to the past. You see someone, I see this gentleman. Suddenly I remember of my past experiences with him. The whole past of him comes to me through that power. And as a reaction, I develop a superego, a conditioning in my brain, which I have shown on the other side, like a balloon. I'll give you a simple example to understand the superego and the ego, how it develops in a little child. A child is nursed by the mother, and he is in complete joy, one with the mother, enjoying fully. Suddenly the mother removes the child from one side to another side. He doesn't like, the child doesn't like, and he puts down his foot there. That is the development of ego. He asserts himself. Ego develops gradually on the left side in the brain, but comes forward. When the child is then corrected by mother, she says, don't do like this. He is conditioned. By that, he accepts it. And the superego as a reaction develops on the right hand side of the brain from this side and covers it gradually at the age of about 12 years, because language is another way by which they are strengthened. And here, when they meet completely, a man is made into an egg, and articulation takes place. Everyone develops a separate personality. He is Mr. So-and-so, he is Mr. So-and-so, he is Mr. So-and-so. And the misidentification starts. There are many misidentifications we suffer from. We call them mithya. We know they are mithya. Our name. I have known people, somebody's name was Dharamdas, and he was the greatest adharmi ever born. There are so many misidentifications. We are attached to our name. If somebody says that you, Mr. So-and-so, you are a very bad man, one feels very hurt and bad. His ego again comes up. What do you say? This was my name. We are attached to so many misidentifications all our life. The mithya starts collecting, and we become covered with so much of that misidentification. Our ego and superego completely overlap all our wisdom. So the ego is created as a byproduct, I can say, or you can say by the activity of the right hand side channel. The fumes of that activity, like in a factory, are collected in the ego. And the activity of the left hand side collects the superego. And that's how you have ego and superego developed in your brain. So that is how the human being is. He has got his Mahakali power, which is looking after the subconscious activities. His Maha Saraswati power, which is looking after the supraconscious activities, and his Mahalakshmi power, which is looking after the conscious activities. Now, there are regions which lie beyond this, about which we are not aware. On the left-hand side, beyond the Mahakali region, lies the collective subconscious mind. The collective subconscious mind, where all that is dead is collected. That is the collective subconscious. Beyond the Mahasaraswati channel, beyond this region, lies the collective supraconscious mind. We are part of that also, though we are not conscious of it. We are not conscious of it, so we can call it, it's still unconscious to us. Now, beyond the central path of Sushumna, beyond the conscious mind, lies the collective consciousness. That is the all-pervading consciousness. Which we know as Satchit Anand, is all-pervading. Below the Muladhara chakra, which I have shown you there down below, lies the most fearful area of hell. It exists. It is there. We may not believe in it, but it is there, and it can be proved. In the collective subconscious, as I have told you, when we die, we get into it. Normally. Not abnormally, but normally. Those people who have been extremely unhappy in life, who have been tortured and suppressed, who have been made very miserable and have a malice burning in their hearts, when they die, they still have the vindictiveness. And they want to make everyone else a miserable personality. They can't see happiness around. Such people, even when they die, they linger along in this area which is not gone into the collective subconscious. The collective subconscious receives a normal personality who has just accepted death as a transition. Actually, when we die, we really do not die. Only part of us, the earth element, drops down, and part of the water element also. But the rest of the elements that form this body, the different koshas, plus the kundalini that goes out, and the atma that guides it, all that put together as soul, you can call it, all that goes into the collective subconscious and starts growing smaller and smaller. into the area of that collective subconscious where it is to be placed for getting smaller and smaller. But the people who die as I told you, as the great sufferers with great desires and lust, very depraved and debased people who indulge in alcoholism and drugs and sex, who make their life miserable, who are violent to themselves and not to others, who are not aggressive but are aggressed, who commit suicide, they do not go to the appointed place. They stick on around. And some of them are really busybodies. They try to torture other souls. All the mental cases that you find in this world suffer from the obsession or the possession by these entities. We call them as bhoot and pishachas. You may not believe it because people don't believe in bhoot. We believe it or not, but they exist. These people are not ambitious people, but they are sly. They are mischievous, but they are afraid. So they try to find out this type of people. They enter into the psyche of such people and they make them even worse. They make their lives miserable. And they make such a person absolutely abnormal. When the psychologists are treating such abnormal people, they perhaps do not know what they are up to. The psychologists, when they get in contact with such abnormal people, they themselves are influenced or contaminated, they catch from these depraved and debased, lusty, sexy people. And they themselves become so abnormal because they seldom have any relationship with normal people, that they start putting up theories absolutely abnormal. An abnormal personality is made as a normal personality and is made to be accepted by everyone. So they start with a theory that you should not suppress your desires. You should become very expressive and absolutely liberated as far as these desires are concerned. All right, go ahead. But they are not aware of the other side of the human beings, that those who do like this can get into the other trap and can become egoistical. It starts as a trip of their ego then. They become so egoistical that they forget what is sin, what is God, what is holiness. That is what has happened in the Western countries. Perhaps maybe the war. In the war, so many people were killed like that. They must have possessed these people. And such patients must have gone to these psychologists, and these psychologists must have come out with these unique ideas of psyche being conditioned if you tell them about religion. psyche is conditioned, no doubt. If you all the time tell the child, don't do this, don't do that, the child gets conditioned, no doubt. If you discipline a person too much, he might get conditioned, no doubt. But if you are a model yourself, if the father and mother both are the model of goodness, then the child accepts it without being conditioned. This is the central path of evolution. That's why I say that the family is the most important unit of every nation. All effort must be done to retain the holiness, the respect, and the greatness of marriage institutions. That's why all the incarnations have been married people, and even the gurus like Guru Nanak and all these people have been married, and they have been leading a normal married life.